For months now, every discussion about Formula One's 2026 regulations seems to orbit a single idea. Whoever builds the best engine will automatically rule the new era. It's a seductive storyline. The 2026 rules do center on radically different power units. The mighty MGU-H is gone. Electrical output from the MGU-K will almost triple, and the internal combustion engine will run on fuel that is chemically unlike anything the sport has used before. It sounds tailor-made for another Mercedes-style power unit coup. Scroll through social media or listen to paddock chatter, and you hear the same refrain. Mercedes dominated 2014 with the best engine. If they build the best one again, game over. But that conclusion is far too neat and dangerously misleading, because the next era of Formula One will not be defined by the engine alone. It will be decided by an intricate three-way dance between the power unit, the new active aerodynamics, and the 100% sustainable fuel. Ignore any of those, and you might as well forget about titles. The obsession with engines isn't hard to understand. Ever since Mercedes unleashed its turbo-hybrid masterpiece in 2014, fans and pundits have carried a mental template that the new engine rules equate to the teams needing to produce the best engine. The evidence seemed overwhelming. Mercedes' PU106A was so far ahead on efficiency and deployment that rivals spent seasons and fortunes trying to catch up. Why wouldn't the same thing happen again when F1 tears up the rulebook in 2026? But that memory blinds us to how different the coming reset really is. The 2026 power unit is no mere step change. It's half internal combustion, half electric, with energy flow measured by total megajoules rather than liters of fuel. It removes the MGU-H turbo assist, forcing teams to rethink turbocharger design and energy recovery. All of which creates opportunities, but also massive dependencies on factors outside the engine block itself. And that's where the conversation usually stops. Fans and even some seasoned commentators talk as if, once you tick the engine box, the rest is trivial decoration. It isn't. Consider the fuel, an element that barely gets a footnote in most previews. For the first time, every drop in an F1 tank will be 100% sustainable, synthesized from captured carbon or renewable feedstocks. It must match the energy density of petrol while emitting net zero fossil carbon. That sounds neat on paper. But inside an engine running at over 10,000 revolutions per minute, microscopic differences in flame speed, knock resistance, and volatility decide how much ignition advance you dare to use, how lean a mixture you can run, and how hot you can let the combustion chamber get before reliability falls apart. Now, imagine Mercedes, or anyone, develops a class-leading hybrid system with perfect energy recovery. If their fuel chemistry lags even slightly, burning slower or less predictably than a rival's, they can't exploit their own hardware. The best engine becomes an underperforming engine. This is not speculation. When F1 quietly shifted to E10 fuel in 2022, teams spent months chasing drivability problems from what seemed like minor chemical changes. Now, expand that from a 10% bio blend to entirely synthetic fuel, and you see why fuel chemistry will be a genuine performance differentiator. It's entirely plausible that a team with a merely good engine but a brilliant fuel partner could beat a supposed engine leader. Then there's active aerodynamics. The 2026 cars will wear wings that physically transform, Z mode for high downforce in corners, and X mode for minimal drag on the straights. Forget the simple DRS flap. This is full car morphing. At first glance, it looks like a gimmick. In reality, it is a giant invisible engine. Why? Because reducing drag by even 10% is like finding dozens of free horsepower without burning a single drop of fuel or drawing an extra watt from the battery. It also directly shapes how effectively you can deploy and harvest electrical energy, crucial when half your lap time comes from electric boost. And active aero is an art form, not a checklist. It demands wings and linkages that are feather-light but rock-solid under brutal loads, and control systems that switch states in milliseconds without destabilizing the car mid-corner. Mercedes offers a cautionary tale here. Since 2022, their aero concepts have struggled relative to the front runners. If they carry that weakness into the active aero era, no power unit advantage will save them. Meanwhile, imagine Aston Martin with Adrian Newey on board, designing movable wings with the elegance he brought to Red Bull's ground effect cars. That's not science fiction. It's a potential championship upset. The deeper truth is that none of these pillars stands alone. Active aero reduces drag and therefore energy demand, directly shaping engine mapping and battery use. Fuel chemistry dictates how aggressively you can tune combustion, which in turn defines cooling requirements and therefore bodywork design. Engine packaging sets the boundaries for how radically you can sculpt movable wings. A team that excels in just one area will be capped by the weakest link. A powerhouse engine with mediocre fuel and clumsy aero is like a thoroughbred horse stuck in mud. And that's what makes 2026 fundamentally different from 2014. Back then, a huge leap in hybrid technology really could decide the pecking order almost single-handedly. This time, victory will hinge on how skillfully a team integrates three complex technologies into a single seamless race car. So where does that leave us when ranking these factors? Yes, the engine remains the foundation. It defines the upper limit of available power and the basic packaging of the car. But the real leverage, the multiplier effect, may come from active aerodynamics. And the silent gatekeeper will be the sustainable fuel, which can enable or strangle everything else. In other words, engine first perhaps, but only by a hair. And that lead disappears if the fuel or aero side stumbles. This is why the idea that Mercedes, or anyone, can just build the best engine and dominate is outdated. A team that treats active aero or fuel chemistry as secondary is effectively betting a championship on a single throw of the dice. Between now and the first race of 2026, look beyond dyno numbers. Which teams are investing most in fuel R&D partnerships? Who is recruiting the aero wizards capable of designing wings that more flawlessly at 330 kilometers per h? How well are engine departments, aero groups and fuel suppliers collaborating under the cost cap? Those answers will tell you far more about the future champions than a single headline about horsepower. The power unit will still matter enormously, but treating 2026 as a repeat of 2014 is a trap. The next great Formula One machine will not simply be the fastest engine bolted to a competent car. It will be a tightly choreographed blend of molecular chemistry, adaptive aerodynamics, and hybrid power. So when someone says Mercedes will win if they nail the engine, remember the full picture. The era we're about to enter is not the age of the engine, it's the age of integration. And in that age, ignoring sustainable fuels or active aero isn't just naive, it's a recipe for defeat. And perhaps that is the most exciting part of the 2026 reset. For the first time in decades, Formula One is asking its teams to think as complete system builders, not just engine makers or aero specialists. Success won't come from chasing a single magic number on a dyno sheet, but from uniting chemistry, software, mechanical design, and driver feel into a car that can adapt in real time.